Good evening. This is Andrew. Again, social media marketing. Uh, Today, or I guess this evening, I'm going to talk about KPIs, metrics, um, some tools, vendors, and integration. And as in the past, there will be some additional reading materials that you can dive into. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is tackles just some recent news. So moving forward, I'll try to catch any uh, what I feel is important in the social media space. So one, whether uh, whatever side of the political spectrum you are, um, one of the things that has really risen in value is the True Social, President Trump's True Social. And one of the reasons is he won the Iowa Republican caucus. And so coming out of that, um, the increase in value of the company and the company that's buying True Social has gone up because of advertising, right? And the thought is like, what if he does become the Republican nominee or president, or just continues to be in the spotlight? Um, Advertisers, at the end of the day, if more eyeballs are going to his site, his platform, then advertisers are going to go there. Another um, announcement is Rumble has entered into a deal with Barstool Sports, which is basically you know, Barstool basically has a lot of content developers or content producers around sports. And so Rumble is um, entering a deal with Barstool, and with the idea there is advertisers seem to like the sports content. It has a very loyal audience, it has a very um, specific audience that's watching, going out and seeking, you know, various content around sports. The thought is maybe it converts better than some other genres of content, and so advertisers makes it more attractive for advertisers. The third article I have here, and again, you can link to all of these and see more of the details, but LinkedIn is looking at moving away from its previous lookalike audience targeting option. So mentioned it in the past, but lookalikes is a great way to basically take a list of your audience or your customers, like your best customers, or a demographic or a segment that you want to grow, um, and you basically load it up to the platforms, and you can do it on LinkedIn, you can do it on Meta, Twitter, TikTok. In essence, it goes out and finds people who have a similar profile, and so it widens your audience. LinkedIn is basically doing away with that. Now, they are going to still offer a lookalike option, but the big difference here is it's really based on the audiences that you generate within LinkedIn. And so, in a way, they're still going to offer something like it, but they're just confining it to more the LinkedIn data. Um, and in some ways, they probably imagine LinkedIn is a great B2B social media site, especially for advertisers. And so maybe they're thinking, you know what, this is just going to lock us into more of a loyal advertising base. But I just wanted to call that out as an interesting fact. So I'm going to get into metrics and KPI. Um, Previously, I showed this brand funnel, and you have an upper funnel, mid funnel, and lower funnel, and you can see the details. I'm not going to go through each of those since I've shared it before. But again, when we first when I first talked about social media marketing, one of the things I like about social media marketing is you can hit all these stages with social media. It's just you're using different you're coming at the creative from a different standpoint, you're using different content, you're using different targeting or marketing methods, but you can basically do it all on social media. So, upper funnel, maybe you're posting more blog articles, um, engaging video content, something that draws eyeballs. You can run ads from a brand perspective, and we'll get into the different types of metrics you'll look at depending on where you're at in the funnel. Um, Mid funnel, maybe you're still doing blog articles, but now you have an audience that is showing interest, right? And so you're going to feed that, and you're going to want to create more, in essence, demand for your product. This is also maybe where you'd add in some white papers. Again, white papers are not something that the peruser of social media and someone trying to discover content is really going to dive into, but someone who you feel like is a little more engaged, that kind of feeds their appetite. And again, video appetite, video content, maybe at this point you're bringing in influencers, right? You're bringing in an athlete or someone who represents your brand to help um, kind of make you stand out in that evaluation phase. And then lower funnel, again, you can continue to use blogs, video content, ads, but now your call to actions or where you're trying to convert them is often to a sales process or getting them to actually make a transaction. And so again, as you go down the funnel, you're using a lot of the same tactics, um, same approaches. Maybe, again, lower funnel, that's where your salespeople are going to come in into play. And so you're in essence adding or adjusting your content depending on where you're at in that funnel. So with that, you want to look at um, how you target and in essence your KPIs depending on where you're at in the funnel. So upper funnel, right? Again, wide, like you're almost trying to create a pool of people who know who you are, right? And ideally have some level of interest in what your brand is about. So your your target audience is going to be much wider. You're probably going to base it off of some profile or persona. Um, in some cases, you may not want it too wide because you may be offering a niche of a product that at the end of the day, if you make it so wide, um, no one's going to convert because at the end of the day, it's just too niche of a product. But mid funnel, this is where you're going to target people who maybe already engaged with your website, and so you're using remarketing. This is also where lookalikes. We just talked about LinkedIn and its lookalike, or at least how it's changing, how it's offering that function. But this is also where you're going to look for people who are considering your product, right? They're already engaged. And then lower funnel, this is really where you're getting into lead generation. Um, you've already qualified the leads, or in essence, you've pushed people down the funnel. And so you're really targeting those people who are now ready to purchase, maybe have already purchased, and you're trying to retain them, but they're a much smaller audience. So how to get into targeting, you got to look at how do you evaluate your performance, right? Again, you might be using video content through all of this, but how you target that video content and how you measure that video content is going to be different depending on where you're at in the funnel. So um, there are many different metrics to look at, but I would say these are probably the core ones to look at based on where you're at in the funnel. So again, um, upper funnel, you're trying to get impressions, right? And so cost per milli, which is also cost per thousand impressions or reach, that's really that's really going to be your key indicator in evaluating, hey, are we spending our money in the right way? Like, are we getting the right eyeballs? Are we efficient with creating that awareness? And again, your video content may be much fluffier, less call to action at this point, but you're just trying to get more people to see it. Um, mid funnel, mid funnel is where you're going to start looking at cost per clicks, right? Like you've moved beyond brand awareness. Now you need people to start taking action. And so cost per click becomes a way to evaluate, are you cost efficient or not? Um, and then click through rates. Um, again, uh, this is a good measure of, are people actually clicking on your ad and going through to ideally a website or a lead gen form or even a click to call is another option. But are they taking that next step and moving down the funnel and engagement? And then lower funnel, you get into conversion rates, cost per lead, cost per sale. This is really where you're getting into like sales volume, right? Like, are your activities actually generating sales? What's your close rate, retention rate, right? So again, throughout the funnel, you may use a lot of the similar social media tactics, advertising, blogs, video content, influencers, but where you're at in that funnel and what you're trying to get them to do is going to dictate what metrics or KPIs are most important to you. So that brings us to the world of metrics, right? And I'm not going to go through these in real detail, but I did try to grab from a number of different sources different metrics. Um, and again, some perform um, really good at different stages of uh, the funnel. So, like example, um, out of home, right? Out of home is great for impressions. Now, very brand, right? Like you should not see a lot of words on a um, on a billboard, right? It should be, 7 words or less. It's a really usually complementing other advertising that's going on, whether it's TV, radio, social, display advertising. But really, it is upper funnel most of the time. It's creating brand. But there's no track, like there are different ways you can track billboards, but it's really hard. It's not like digital. Um, you're paying for impressions. Now you get into paid search. Um, search is really high, and I just realized I cut off some of the titles here, but this first column is CPMs, and then you have cost per clicks, and then click-through rates, cost per leads, and then cost per acquisition. When I send out the deck, I'll put those. But one of the things about paid search is it's really expensive on impressions because you're usually you're not using paid search for a brand builder. You're using it at that mid to lower funnel. People they're going out and they're searching for a topic, and you're buying those words with the hope that they're going to click through to your ads, right? And so it actually performs really bad on impressions, but performs really good on click-through rates, conversions, and so forth. And then social media advertising. Um, uh, again, the first column is CPMs or cost per thousand impressions, and it's kind of middle of the road, right? And same thing with cost per clicks. And then the next one is click-through rates, and again, conversion rates, um, and then cost per acquisition. I did add social influencing advertising. I got some metrics on that. I will also say a lot of this is ever changing, right? And it also changes based on what industry you're in. Um, and then my benchmarks, just in the past, when I've ran social media advertising campaigns, um, I usually set benchmarks because it's a quick way when you're looking at analytics. Let's say you have 10 different campaigns running and you're looking at 3 different platforms, advertising reports. Ideally, you could bring them into one tool, but let's just say you're looking at multiple locations to quickly see, hey, am I paying the right price for my impressions? Like, am I efficient? Are they are, are they clicking, right? Are people clicking? Are they clicking at enough of a rate that I'm getting a deal? And then am I converting them through? Are they clicking through to my website? And are they taking action on that website? For instance, completing a lead form. And then am I getting a read like at the end of it to get that lead? Am I getting a sound uh, cost per lead, right? And so again, the reason I share this is um, just to give you some comparison of different advertising and marketing channel tactics and just how you should look at them. Again, look at what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to create brand awareness, then impressions is important, and that's a key metric for you. If you're trying to drive sales with that campaign, then you're going to look at your cost per leads um, and your conversion rates. So one of the things I did was kind of walk through a scenario, and I would say I do this for almost every major campaign. And I'm actually working with a startup right now where I'm literally doing this um, as we speak, and that's really waterfalling, back of a napkin type of scenarios of performance and metrics. And again, if you're running a single social media campaign or you're running this across multiple channels and campaigns and you're looking at averages, at the end of the day, um, I've used this methodology in the past many times to just get a sense of, hey, is this campaign even likely to be successful? Um, what do I need to tweak in this? Maybe I need to have stronger content. Maybe I need to have better targeting and so forth. And so one of the things I did was put together a scenario. So let's say in Q1, um, your business goal is you need to gain 100 new customers. And in the past, your sales trend has been for every 100 customers, you get, or every 100 leads, um, you get 33 sales, right? And so what I did was I basically backed into that, right? I started at the business goal of 100, and then I basically divided that by the lead close rate. Then I took that number and divided it by the conversion rate. And then I took that number and divided it by the click-through rate and kind of walked myself back out of the funnel and, in essence, like a reverse waterfall to create the waterfall. But one of the things that got me to was a number of impressions, right? Like in essence, I need to go out and find 1 million people or 1 million impressions, and impressions can be duplicated, but I in essence I need to touch over 1 million people in theory to make it so I can get 100 sales, right? And so this is a good way to just anytime you're presented with uh, objective to meet some type of sales goal with a marketing campaign or you're supporting sales with marketing is to create this waterfall approach. And it allows you to look at, all right, do I even have 1 million people in my target audience? Let's just say I had I had 500,000, right? Well, gosh, that's going to make it really difficult to make 100 sales given just current benchmarks and my KPIs at different stages in the funnel. So um, I need to look at that target audience and say, okay, like maybe I was only targeting females. Well, could I target males too? And that would get me, closer to 1 million people to target. So again, um, a helpful a helpful way to look at social media marketing as well as any marketing that you're pushing people through the funnel. Um, Another thing is just uh, the integration with social media platforms and CRM, content management systems as well. Um, and this is a real technical layout, but I kind of wanted to just demonstrate how the two interact with each other, right? And so the green is in essence the business, and the blue is in essence the consumers and the clients, and in essence the social media platforms, right? So the company has a CRM tool and the CMS tool, and it can be Salesforce, HubSpot, WordPress, Salesforce, and HubSpot also have content management systems, and the platforms can be Meta, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. um, but one of the things, so you can start with creating awareness, right? And you can target advertising with a profile that drives people to the websites, which then the CMS tool can pick up, whether it's through a lead form or through we talked about party data. But in essence, you're able to send a target list back to the social media platform. And that's where, the custom audiences and the lookalikes come into play. People engage with your social media. So now you can re-engage them through remarketing. Um, and in that you create more leads, right? And then those leads come back to the CRM tool as in essence converted sales, and then you can use social media to also aid in the onboarding and the education process of existing customers. And that engagement with social media that data can then flow back to the CRM tool as performance with retention and how much you're engaging with the onboarding process as a client. So again, not the most techy explanation, but what I wanted to show was just the back and forth between social media platforms and CRMs. So that leads me to um, one of the CRM tools, Salesforce. And actually, Salesforce Trailhead, I think, is a really great tool. So before I get into this slide, Salesforce and HubSpot has tried to copy them a little, and a few other players, but Salesforce has done a great job of creating educational content for people who are looking to learn about uh, marketing technology and CRM and sales technology, um, and in essence, they're creating demand for their products through that training. They even tie in recruiting through this. So one of the things I'm going to ask in this week's assignment is for everyone to set up a Salesforce Trailhead account. The link is right here. Um, I highly recommend it, just for something you can put on your resume. You can basically go take various modules, but the one I'm going to have you take is social selling, right? And it's just going to give you some information on uh, how to use social media with your sales process and how to tie it in with CRM. And then I also included some links on what is social CRM. And then there's a great video actually done by LinkedIn on how you can use Salesforce CRM and basically pull up customers' LinkedIn accounts and engage with them as a salesperson, right? It's giving you another layer of information that maybe 15 years ago no one had. And so again, really good examples. I'll build it into the assignment this week, but it will really give you kind of hands-on experience of how this stuff works. And then one of the things I was going to call out, and a hot topic is influencer marketing. There's a number of vendors out there. There's one vendor, it used to be Maverick Marketing. They've changed their name to Later, powered by Maverick. Um, and I was pretty deep into a deal with this vendor with one company that I worked for. to actually use them for influencer marketing. But what's great about this company, and again, it's not the only one, but I'm trying to expose all of you to different types of vendors in the social media space, is in essence what they do is based on your parameters of target customers. So let's say you're selling, I don't know, you've come out with a new skateboard shoe, and so um, you want to round up a bunch of really good skateboarders, like maybe not professionals, but local skateboarders who are kind of top in their community. And so you give this vendor this parameter, like I want 16-year-olds to 18-year-olds who are into skateboarding, right? They'll go out and find them. They'll go out and find a pool of people, and then you tell them what type of content you want, video or posts, and in essence, they'll have these people create the content. What's great about it is the way the platform works. The various influencers, like in this case, skateboarders, they load their content up. You get a chance to review it and approve it before it gets published. If you approve it, it gets published, and then the influencers get paid, the company gets paid. But the great thing about it, like one of the scary things, and when I looked into influencer marketing, I was in the healthcare space. You never know what someone's going to say, right? And so how do you put those governance or those parameters around content to make sure that heaven forbid, it's not misleading or it's not, in essence, creating a negative view of your company. So again, it's one vendor, but uh, you know, take a look at them, peruse their website. They even have the ability to do a demo, and maybe you want to become an influencer for them. The next thing I'll just dive into, as I mentioned last time, I put my video up on YouTube. One of the reasons I did this was just to show you, if you've never had a YouTube channel, just the metrics, right? So another reality is it's really hard to drive traffic, right? Um, there's so much competition, especially in the video sharing space. Um, and so in essence, I got one subscriber. I don't even know why the person subscribed, but they did, right? Like for me to even make money on my channel, I would have to have another 499 subscribers to even be eligible to make money as a video content developer. So again, uh, share this as just an example of how you would look at metrics. Like there's a click-through rate of 2.41%. Um, that's not, um, it's relatively good, but you could also argue, like, given my captive audience of all of you, like, that click-through rate should have even been higher if I have a link going to another website. So again, I'll continue to share this. It just becomes a good example for the class. And then with that, let me know if you have any other questions. Especially don't hesitate to reach out if there's a topic. I'm I'm covering the areas of social media that I think will be really important for you as you start your career, but I am just scratching the surface. So if there is a topic that you are very interested in, just ping me an email and I'll try to add it to one of the lessons. Thank you. Bye.